condyle, where it divides into a superficial and deep branch. The branches of the musculospiral nerve are muscular, superficial, cutaneous, deep. The muscular branches, ramus muscularis, supply the triceps brachii, anconeus, brachioradialis, extensor carpi radialis longus, and brachialis, and are grouped as medial, posterior, and lateral. The medial muscular branches supply the medial and long heads of the triceps brachii. That to the medial head is a long, slender filament, which lies close to the ulnar nerve as far as the lower third of the arm, and is therefore frequently spoken of as the ulnar collateral nerve. The posterior muscular branch, of large size, arises from the nerve in the groove between the triceps brachii and the humerus. It divides into filaments which supply the medial and lateral heads of the triceps brachii and the anconeus muscles. The branch for the lateral muscle is a long, slender filament which descends in the substance of the medial head of the triceps brachii. The lateral muscular branches supply the brachioradialis, extensor carpi radialis longus, and the lateral part of the brachialis. The cutaneous branches are two in number, the posterior brachial cutaneous and the dorsal antebrachial cutaneous. The posterior brachial cutaneous nerve, nervus cutaneous brachii posterior, internal cutaneous branch of musculospiral, arises in the axilla with the medial muscular branch. It is of small size and passes through the axilla to the medial side of the area, supplying the skin on its dorsal surface nearly as far as the olecranon. In its course, it crosses behind and communicates with the intercostobrachial. The dorsal antebrachial cutaneous nerve, nervus cutaneous antebrachial dorsalis, external cutaneous branch of the musculospiral, perforates the lateral head of the triceps brachii at its attachment to the humerus. The upper and smaller branch of the nerve passes to the front of the elbow, lying close to the cephalic vein, and supplies the skin of the lower half of the arm. The lower branch pierces the deep fascia below the insertion of the deltoideus, and descends along the lateral side of the arm and elbow, and then along the back of the forearm to the wrist, supplying the skin in its course and joining near its termination with the dorsal branch of the lateral antebrachial cutaneous nerve. The superficial branch of the radial nerve, ramus superficialis radial nerve, passes along the front of the radial side of the forearm to the commencement of its lower third. It lies at first slightly lateral to the radial artery, concealed beneath the brachioradialis. In the middle third of the forearm, it lies behind the same muscle, close to the lateral side of the artery. It quits the artery about 7 centimeters above the wrist, passes beneath the tendon of the brachioradialis, and, piercing the deep fascia, divides into two branches. The lateral branch, the smaller, supplies the skin of the radial side and ball of the thumb, joining with the volar branch of the lateral antebrachial cutaneous nerve. The medial branch communicates above the wrist with the dorsal branch of the lateral antebrachial cutaneous and, on the back of the hand, with the dorsal branch of the ulnar nerve. It then divides into 4 digital nerves, which are distributed as follows. The first supplies the ulnar side of the thumb, the second, the radial side of the index finger, the third, the adjoining sides of the index and middle fingers, the fourth communicates with the filament from the dorsal branch of the ulnar nerve and supplies the adjacent sides of the middle and ring fingers. See footnote. According to Hutchison, the digital nerve to the thumb reaches only as high as the root of the nail, the one to the forefinger as high as the middle of the second phalanx, and the one to the middle and ring fingers not higher than the first phalangeal joint. End footnote. The deep branch of the radial nerve, nervus interosseus dorsalis, dorsal or posterior interosseous nerve, winds to the back of the forearm around the lateral side of the radius between the two planes of fibers of the supinator, and is prolonged downward between the superficial and deep layers of the muscles to the middle of the forearm. Considerably diminished in size, it descends as the dorsal interosseous nerve on the interosseous membrane in front of the extensor pollicis longus to the back of the carpus, where it presents a gangliform enlargement from which filaments are distributed to the ligaments and articulations of the carpus. It supplies all the muscles on the radial side and dorsal surface of the forearm, excepting the anconeus, brachioradialis, and extensor carpi radialis longus. End of section 38.